everyone, Lisa here from Down to Earth Gardening, and today is a beautiful fall day and it's a great time to do a garden renovation. So spring or fall, we like to do garden renovations, and it's a great time to get out there and move some plants around, so it's good if you can use what you have and also add some new plants. So recently we did a fun garden reno at my daughter Hannah's house. But this time we're doing something a little bit bigger. We're doing the whole front of a house, a foundation planting, and adding some really great curb appeal. So it's great if you can start with a plan. So a design or a consultation is great. If you keep a garden journal and keep some notes on what's been working and what hasn't, and maybe some plants that you really love that you'd love to incorporate, that's really great. But I really feel strongly that it's important to have a plan before you start digging into this. So this here was a garden consultation that I did on a beautiful front foundation garden. You can see it has this really pretty porch here that could use some nice curb appeal. And it all started because the plants in the front here that are existing weren't doing very well. So that's where we started, because of course we want to reuse what we already have. So upon discovering the goals and what's been going on in the garden with the client, we found that one of the problems is the soil. So it's very typical for a new house, and this is a newer house, that when it's built, the contractors will use backfill against the foundation, and that is very common. So the soil here is very poor, and you can see that because some of the plants are really struggling. So if you have struggling plants, that's definitely one of the things that you can check. And you can amend your soil. I always recommend soil testing. But the other issue is the sun orientation. So these plants are mainly sun lovers, minus a couple that are here in the mix. And it's really important to select plants that are appropriate for the sun that your garden is receiving. So many of these are sun lovers, and it turns out that this is more of the west side of the house, so it doesn't even get a half a day of sun. So the plan is to remove all the plants here, and we've got Josh and Payne on site that are going to do a lot of the muscle and amend the soil. We're actually going to replace the soil with some compost and topsoil, and then we're going to move some items. Many of these are going to a new full sun location, and then we have some newbies we're going to bring in that are shade lovers. So stay tuned, and I'm going to walk you through what we're doing here. Okay, so the digging has begun, and before we really dig into it, I want to review the specifics of what we're doing today in case you're planning a project at home. So I'm carrying around my consultation notes, and this is just a service that I offer. It's not a design, but it's time that I spend with the client really reviewing what we're going to do, what they want the outcome to be, and just kind of like outline the plan for the garden. So I have my notes, and I just want to show you what's already here, because we're going to show you the final result at the end of the video. So a lot of the plants here are pink and yellow, and they are sun lovers. The client really has a preference for sun lovers. There's some other colors in the mix, but there's some beautiful things here. And as you can see, they're just not doing as well as they could be. So we always want to try to reuse what we have. And what we found is that the sunniest side of the house is on the end. So we have Payne on the end over here, working on shaping out a new area where we're going to add a little hydrangea tree to anchor the corner and move our sun perennials to. So we're swinging it out a little. It's really going to accent the corner of the house and give us some space for some full sun plants that we already have. And then we're going to reshape the front. I talk a lot about proportion, and this house has a little bit of height to it and a beautiful porch to accent. So it really deserves a bigger garden. So we're going to bring it out and I painted the line, which you can see. We like a nice curvy line here, and it's a little bit deeper, accenting the front walk and the entrance, which I think is going to be really nice. So the 4 plants that are okay with the shade that we're going to try to reuse here are the 2 geraniums, and you can see they're doing pretty well in spite of the poor soil. And we're going to try to reuse the 2 peonies and give them a little more sun by hopefully edging them out away from the house a little more, because like I said, the sun comes up in the back of the house, and then this is the west side. So by bringing them out, they may be able to get a little more sun. So that's the current plan. And then we have a lot of newbies that we're going to be adding. So we also have this nice corner here that's going to be great to do an accent shrub. And notice how there's no windows here. So it's okay if we put something that fills in and has a little bit of height to it. And we also have something that is shade tolerant and lightly fragrant to add on the corner to be enjoyed when you're sitting on the porch. And then we're going to try to reuse these 2 shrubs. You'll notice here that this one doesn't look great, but we're going to give it a go. We're going to relocate it and give it some new soil and then check on it again next spring. So stay tuned for some updates and some new curb appeal at this home. Okay, as promised, I want to show you the results of this little garden makeover here. So the team has worked really hard the last few days on this little garden, and I just want to give you a quick overview of what they've done, just a little recap, and then I want to go through the new plants and what we did for some transplanting on the other end of the garden. So the shape of this garden is really pretty. I'm sitting in a spot where I can see the whole thing, so I want to try to give you a view of that as well, because shape is really important. I love to do a nice soft curve, and you can see the line here, to really soften the house and complement it. So after we shaped the garden, the team had a lot of work to do with the soil prep. And that's because the soil was no good here in the garden. And so what they actually did was they dug it out about a foot down. They removed all of that, got rid of it, and they brought in some really nice topsoil and compost mix. So that is really important when you're planting a garden, is to make sure that you have some great soil. Otherwise, you're going to have to backtrack like they did. And that is a lot of work, but worth it. So the next thing I want to talk about is all of the newbies that we brought in here, because it's pretty exciting, and I'm going to point out a few in particular. And if you'll remember, there was a bunch of existing sun perennials, and remember we're in zone 6A, and full sun perennials really do need 6+ hours of sun a day. And this garden here only gets a little bit of afternoon sun. So I would consider this a part shade garden here. So we've added some shade lovers, which are really beautiful, and I want to tell you about a few of them here. But you're also going to see that I have a few tags here and there, and that's because we're waiting on a couple of items. Some will be planting this fall, and others we're going to have to wait and plant until spring, because sometimes in the fall the availability isn't great. So for tags here, what we've got on hold is we're going to frame the steps with a nice evergreen to give us some seasonal appeal. And I really think it's nice to accent an entryway with something really special. So we have these Pieris Flaming Silver, which have a beautiful variegated leaf, and then they'll get a nice white flower in the spring. So that's going to also bring in the winter interest for this little garden here and accent the entrance. And then we've got some daffodil bulbs that we're putting in this fall that are really going to shine in the spring. And we've got some bleeding heart and yellow peony that we're going to put in next spring, because if you'll remember, we're doing a predominantly pink and yellow theme here. We do have a couple of other colors in the mix, but mostly it's pink and yellow here. So one of the things we've done is to give this garden a little more interest and a little more variety while keeping the symmetry, is we put groups of plants or even singles that are the same plant but slightly different colors or a different variety. So for example, we have these Lenten roses here, the Helleborus. And on this end, we have a tropical sunset, which is going to be a pink and a little bit of yellow flower and a beautiful leaf. But we also have another Helleborus on the other end in the same location that is a different variety. So that one over there is called Dorothy Dawn on that end. So again, that's going to give us a little more variety in this small garden. And that's just a simple way that you can do that if you're looking to bring in some different colors or some more variety in the mix and you do have a small garden. And then we have some gorgeous anemone that I just want to point out, because fall is the time that they really shine. And we do have two matching for our symmetry on both sides. And those are called Curtain Call Pink. Gorgeous double flower. Beautiful leaf too, which adds a nice texture in the summer. And then, of course, we have our coral bells, which you all know I love, especially for shade gardens, because they really brighten them up. And we reused the crane's bill geranium and transplanted and just cut some of them down. So those are another really nice shade plant. And we had two struggling peonies that were Sarah Bernhardt, a beautiful pink. And what we do in that situation is a lot of times we'll put them together to make one larger plant. So we've done that down on the corner here. So that's actually two plants that you're looking at down there. And so we've also got some beautiful astilbe. We have visions in pink on this end, and then on the other end we have peach blossom. And then we've added a nice shrub in the corner to fill in this space because there's no window here. So in this spot here, you can do something with a little height. And what we're using is a ruby spice clethra, which is a great plant, deciduous shrub for shade or part shade, and the hummingbird pollinators love it, and it does have a little bit of fragrance. It's a beautiful pink flower. I love how that's right next to the porch, so when you're sitting on the porch or if you do open these windows, you'll be able to get that fragrance or watch the pollinators from the porch, so that's fun. And the team moved a couple of shrubs here. It was a perfect time to do it because we got quite a bit of rain this past weekend, so they're really settling in. And then another newbie, which is really fabulous, is this hydrangea standard tree, and it's called Limelight. So I love using these in spots like this. It has a little bit of room to fill out, and it really just anchors the corner of the house. And the homeowner said that she can see a little bit of it from her front window, so that's really great. I know she was really excited about this one. And then we had a lot of sun perennials that were struggling in the front, and we wanted to make good use of them. So they were all relocated to this side of the house because this here is the south side of the house. So it was important to make this a little bit bigger so we could fit all of our existing plants, and we did add two newbies in the mix just to break up the colors and the textures. But they transplanted so well. Again, fall is such a great time to do your transplanting when the weather's cooler, we're getting more rain, and the soil is still warm enough for the roots to get established. So in fact, I want to point out that there was a little painted daisy that was in front of the house that was really looking terrible. I was not sure it was going to make it. And after being here for the weekend, there's a little bit of new growth. So that just shows that, one, it is a great time to move your plants, and two, it's all about putting the right plant in the right location. And that really is one of the big things about this job, is that some of the plants were just in the wrong location. So doing that and by freshening up the soil were probably the two biggest things that we did to really make this house beautiful and give these plants a chance. So that's it for today. I hope that you enjoyed this. I love bringing these videos to you, and I hope you get out there and get some gardening in before winter. It's a great time to do that. So if you liked our video, go ahead and tap like, and please subscribe to our channel because we have so many more gardening videos coming your way.